Hi there, it's Bryony from Team Corkscrew. Welcome to today's backstage session. And today we're going to be looking at one of the 4 key elements of corkscrew thinking, and that's creativity. More specifically, we're going to be asking, can creativity be taught? Okay, so time for a quick virtual hands up time. How many of you have ever said something similar to, my brain isn't wired for creativity. No, I'm not an arts major. Or, whoa, I'm no good at drawing, don't look at me. Therefore, I'm not creative. Hopefully, by the end of this session, you might reconsider your answer if you've said, yes, I've said one of those things in the past. Okay, let's start by unpacking the opening question. How are we defining creativity in the first place? When we talk about creativity, do any of the following words spring to mind? Artsy, musical, drawing, graphic design, perhaps? But really, when you think about it, can't those things just be thought of as the output of creativity rather than creativity itself? They're individual skills that have been learnt, practiced, and developed. We frequently confuse creativity with craftsmanship. Our self-doubt and lack of creative confidence comes from mismanagement of our creative expectations. Being a creative person doesn't mean that you can walk into an art studio and immediately be inspired to create a masterpiece. The confusion comes from our expectations, because most people are able to think of an original idea, even if it's a little bit rough around the edges, but we haven't necessarily spent enough time with the arts materials themselves to have learned how to make the things that we're seeing in our mind. The really sad thing is that these thoughts then lead us to dismissing even giving it a go, and so this vicious cycle continues of us saying, no, I can't do that, I'm not creative. This fear of failure is toxic because it puts limits on and cuts short the time that we allow ourselves to imagine and wonder what we could do and who we could be. So let's just dive into the creative process and have a look at that. It's all about having new ideas and then being able to drive those ideas forward. At its core, creativity is about the act of turning new and imaginative ideas into a reality. Let's try something. Let's reframe the opening question. So what if we asked, can non-creative behaviour be taught? Let us explain what we mean by that. Here's a quote from George Land in 1993. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this guy in the next slide. He was quoted with saying that non-creative behaviour is learned. This statement stems from a creativity test that George Land created for NASA to help them select innovative engineers. The assessment was so successful that he decided to try it on children. Remember, the results you're about to see were indicating levels of creativity. Okay, I'm just going to give you a second to look at the graph and take it in. You'll notice that creativity appears to diminish the older we get. Have a look at the graph again. You see at age 5, on average, children were scoring an average score of 98% creativity. In 5 years' time, by the time they reach 10, that's towards the end of primary school over in the UK, dropped to 30%. Within the next 5 years to 12, by the time people reach 31, on average, their score is just 2% of creative. So what's happening? Is this partly because the older we get, the less time we spend playing? Partly because our current education systems were designed to support the Industrial Revolution with the focus of producing good workers who are able to follow instructions? Education stifles creativity, and workplaces prioritize productivity, but often at the expense of creativity. 80% of people in the UK alone feel increased pressure to be productive over creative at work. But productivity and creativity need not be contradictory. We are born creative. As children, we spend our days playing and letting our imaginations run wild. Research shows that this is a behaviour that we let go of as we grow up, or perhaps a behaviour that gets suppressed and discouraged in place of rules and regulations throughout school and work. Our fear of failing to be creative enough over time breaks down our childhood creative confidence. We start fearing failing our exams. We start fearing failing at work. As children, we don't have these external pressures to fear. But you don't simply learn to be creative. You have to become creative through doing. Okay, so at the start, I asked whether you have ever doubted your personal creativity. You might now, or hopefully, have a better understanding of why this may be. So let's look at what we can do to change that. Let's look at what you can do to change that. So number one, try and put yourself in situations that foster creativity. Number two, why not enroll in a new course? Learn a new craft and allow yourself a creative outlet. 3, when you go home tonight, I dare you to try not following the recipe and see what happens. Work on creating a morning routine that makes you feel great and therefore leads you to having a great day. 5, spend time with people who make you feel good and with who you are comfortable expressing your opinions in front of. Try not asking Siri the answer next time you don't know. Go find the answer in a book or find the answer through having a conversation with someone. Number 7, don't settle for the first solution you come up with. Push yourself to try and find more creative solutions. 8, make time to play. When was the last time you just sat down and tried doodling or played with some Lego and saw what you could build or played hide and seek with friends? Just make time to play. It's how we spend our time as kids, and it's so much fun, and it just allows your imagination some freedom to run wild. Number 9, give yourself permission to be wrong. Stop fearing getting things wrong and feeling that you're therefore going to be a failure. It's really important to remember that making a mistake isn't the opposite of being successful. It's just part of the journey of getting to success or finding the right answer. Number 10, try and solve a riddle. Challenge yourself to problem solve. Number 11, be open-minded, especially in situations where perhaps you're unfamiliar with the people or the context or conversation that's going on. Make sure you stay open-minded and don't just apply your kind of pre-existing perspectives to a situation. Be open-minded to consider new perspectives. Number 12, make time to get out of the box. Okay, so a few quick concluding points. Creativity can and should be encouraged. Creativity should be nurtured. It's critical to have environments that are conducive to creativity and encourage people to explore and to imagine and to try. You have to believe us when we say that there is more to life than grades and GPA. Work cultures should embrace creativity, and if you feel that yours doesn't, then try and think of small ways in which you could bring some creativity or opportunities for creativity into that. Maybe you start up a lunch and learn group with your teammates so that once a month someone part of the team shares some knowledge of a hobby or a passion that they have outside of work with the rest of the team. It don't have to be big things that come from top level. They can be small things at kind of more of a grassroots level within a workplace. Remember that creativity is a behavior, one that you have to spend and dedicate time building and strengthening. Acknowledge that you were born creative, and also acknowledge that you have not lost your creativity. You've lost your creative confidence. In this session, we have really only just started to scratch the surface on creativity and creative confidence. We hope that it has given you some food for thought and perhaps a fresh perspective on your own creativity. Hopefully, the next time someone asks whether you consider yourself to be creative, you will raise your hand, confident in your born creativity and accepting that creativity comes in many different shapes and forms. Thank you for taking the time to listen. If you've got any questions or feedback, please feel free to post them in the comment section below the post, and I'll look forward to continuing the conversation with you guys. Okay, bye.